Good morning, YouTube. It might not be morning for you, but it's morning for me, so that's what we're going off of. Anyways, Mikey here, coming at you from GreyHat Productions in the GreyHat Productions studio. No, it's not really studio, it's just my work truck, because, well, I'm at work. Anyway, we're coming at you with video number 1. Now, technically for the channel, this isn't the first video, but because the channel has kind of died for the sake of what we're doing today, this is going to be video number 1. It's going to be a new start, essentially. So today's topic is going to be kind of what happened to GreyHat Productions, what it was, what it is now, and what my plans are for it in the future moving forward. So, GreyHat Productions was kind of a dream channel that I had started. I've always been a big tech enthusiast, so I was going to try and create a YouTube channel that brought to you all sorts of tech content, whether it was unboxings, custom-built PCs, gaming videos, just kind of a well-rounded channel of most technology-related stuff. And so I started working on that. I moved to, back in 2015 when I started the channel, I moved to a house for work in Kansas because, well, for work I move all over the place from state to state, but different sites. But I ended up on a site that was going to have me fairly long term, so I moved to a house in Kansas that had a nice space for me to kind of start the channel with, and so it felt like a good opportunity, a good time to start a YouTube channel. Now a little bit of backstory: I have had one PC previous to this story moving forward. I had built it back in 2012, and it was more of, I always wanted to build a custom gaming PC, so the time came, I had the money. I got a quote from a friend that sold computer components and stuff. I got all the money together I needed, which was $800 at the time. I went to his house, I bought most of the components kind of used from him, but then I ordered some new stuff, and we built the computer. It was more he built the computer while I watched, as it was my first time, but it was my first custom gaming PC. Now, this PC had an MSI motherboard. I don't remember the specs exactly. I'll probably put it in an annotation or something right here. So it had an MSI motherboard. I ordered it came with, at the time, it came with a 550 watt power supply. It had an AMD Phenom 2x6 processor, which was a 3.8 gigahertz, I believe, 6-core processor. And it had 1,000 terabyte, no, it was not that big. So 1,000 gigabyte, so a 1 terabyte hard drive, and 8 gigs of G-Skill Ripjaw series memory at 1600 gigahertz, if I remember correctly. We built this back in 2012, and for the graphics card, originally I had ordered the Radeon HD 7850 or 7800. It was a 7850, I think. I got that. We put the PC together. I had to wait for the graphics card to arrive because he had most all the other parts. An old case. It was just pretty basic case, but he had all the rest of the parts besides the graphics card. So I ordered a new graphics card. We built the PC. It sat there for a little while the graphics card was being shipped. The graphics card finally arrived. I stuck it in the PC. We installed an operating system we stuck it in the PC and tried to boot the system, and nothing happened. I mean, there was no display. Excuse me. There was no display, and so we did some troubleshooting and found out that the graphics card was faulty. So I contacted Newegg, I sent the graphics card back, and I got a refund on that. And at the time, the Radeon HD 7950, which was the best model out at the time, had just gone on sale for, it was more expensive than the 7850, but it wasn't too far more expensive. So I just decided to go with that better graphics card, and I ordered the 7950. That arrived, we put it in the system, we got an operating system installed on it, the PC would boot, and then it would kick off. And so I had to kind of troubleshoot that. Ended up having to get a bigger power supply because a 550 watt just wasn't quite enough for that 7950. Got a Corsair CX750M, 80 plus bronze certified, and it worked great for the PC. So this was Intel, my first gaming PC. This is kind of where I started. I always played games, PC games. I'd always loved PC over console. And I'd always played PC games before, but this was essentially my first gaming PC. Anyway, so I used that for years. Fast forward to 2015, just moved to Kansas. Had a big space, had a huge desk, had plenty of room and a foundation to start a channel on. So my plan was essentially to start the channel. I was going to purchase new components to completely build a new system, new case, new everything. I was going to use a couple of the old parts from my past PC to build this new one, but essentially it was going to be a fresh build, and it was going to be my first personal build, and that's kind of what the channel was going to be based around. So I started ordering parts. I got all the components in. As the components would come in, I would do unboxing videos, kind of a review of them, and then I'd set them aside to wait for the rest of the parts so I could get everything together and build this first gaming PC. Now, I got all the parts, did all my videos, was ready to build this PC. During this process, however, I started to end up with bad video footage, whether it was bad sound quality, bad video quality, or I would just lose bits and pieces of footage altogether, whether it was a faulty SD card or, just having issues with the video. So I lost chunks of kind of everything, and it made it kind of hard to keep the videos going, as well as I had to pull the old PC apart to build the new PC. So now I kind of had no PC to edit footage. So I ran into those issues. I didn't have the video footage that I needed any longer from I just lost a lot of stuff, and the sound quality wasn't great. If you go check out the previous videos, you'll probably know exactly what I'm talking about. I was using a cheap SJ cam. It's like a knockoff GoPro. And when I would move it around, sometimes it makes a clunking noise that just destroys your ears. And the video footage, the video quality just wasn't quite what I had wanted. But I was still going to work on it. I was still going to try and put the pieces together and make this my YouTube channel. However, the PC didn't actually turn out the way it was supposed to. It kind of evolved more than was a fresh build. So what had happened was I ordered all the components I needed, minus those, the few parts that I had already had, and I built the PC. Now, it turned out pretty good. I was really happy with it. I was super stoked to finally have built my first desktop. And all in all, it just kind of, it turned out good. I was happy with it. It wasn't quite what I wanted originally. Like, it wasn't super photogenic like Internet Beast, something that you find on Google Images. But it was pretty decent for being my first custom build. Now, I got my monitor set up, taken care of, or I got my monitor set up, I got the desktop set up, I got everything set up, and I booted the system. Everything went smoothly, operating system, everything just went good. The PC worked good to start. Now, however, I ran into some issues with it, and this is kind of where the evolution part starts, because it went together like it was supposed to, but then it didn't quite function like it was supposed to. So the first issue I ran into is when I put load on it, whether it be gaming or video editing. I think I noticed at first trying to run PowerDirector 12, I had a lot of issues with it, and so I tested it in games too. So I would get this issue where PowerDirector 12 for video editing would function perfect for just a minute, and then it would not work like almost at all, and then it'd work good, and then it wouldn't. And so in gaming, I was getting kind of the same thing. I'd get 100 FPS. I think it was in Borderlands 2 that I was testing. I'd get somewhere like 100 FPS, and then it would drop to 10, and then 100 FPS, and then it dropped to 10. So I looked through some software and started doing some research and stuff, and it turned out that the processor was thermal throttling heavily for some reason. The performance on it would, or the usage on it would go all the way up, and then it would just drop, and then it would go all the way up, and then it would just drop. And so after looking into this and figuring it out, doing, some troubleshooting, I actually found out that the VRMs would, the VRMs and the heatsink was excessively hot, and so they were overheating and causing the processor to thermal throttle. So I actually found this out. I kind of just stumbled across it on accident. While I was using the computer and while it was having this issue, I took a can of compressed air and I was just blowing the computer out while it was running, and I ran over the heat sinks, and the computer all of a sudden just functioned right. And you could tell, by touch, that this heat sink was like almost too hot to touch. So I kind of figured that the voltage draw on the FX8350 was just too high for this motherboard. So I ended up having to order a new motherboard. I bought the Crosshair 5 Formula Z, and now, I had to wait for that to arrive. What I did until that arrived so that I could still use a PC is I actually bought a little USB fan, plugged it in the back computer, wrapped it around the computer, so it wrapped it around the side, and it blew on the heat sinks, and that actually worked for a while, but that's not something you want to do on your fresh built custom PC. Anyway, so I did my research, found the motherboard I wanted, bought that Crosshair 5, and at the same time, I purchased a new GPU. I actually bought a second Radeon HD 7950 so that I could run Crossfire, as it had always kind of been a dream of mine to run a dual GPU setup. I had the money, I wanted this PC to be my personal custom-built system, so I bought a second graphics card. This is 3 years after the release of that card. They didn't make them new anymore, so I ended up just buying a used one. And it's a funny story with that is I actually bought a used one and it got lost in the mail, so I actually had to eat that loss and then buy another one. But in the end, I ended up getting the graphics card. The motherboard arrived, I got it installed, I ran the system for a little while with that motherboard, and everything was awesome. The motherboard itself kind of tied the color scheme back together like it was supposed to, because the MSI motherboard was blue, as you'll probably see in some pictures. I'll post some pictures so that you kind of get an idea of how the system went. And my first build, I'll just post some pictures so you kind of have an idea what I'm talking about. So the Crosshair 5 kind of tied the whole system together like I wanted. It was a red and black theme. The motherboard was red and black, whereas the old MSI one was blue. And so that worked really good. After the dispute with the first graphics card that I had ordered that got lost in the mail, trying to get a refund on that, and it's just not working out, I ordered another one, and the PC ran great up until then. So I got this new HD 7950, I installed it in the computer, and the computer would run just fine for a while until I put load on it, and then it would just shut off. If you guys are PC enthusiasts, that's probably a pretty easy one to figure out the problem on. Turns out that the power supply I had, the Corsair CX750M, only being bronze certified, it was just not enough for this system. I had an AIO water cooler, a Corsair H100i on the PC at the time, and so with the dual graphics cards, that heavy voltage FX8350 and just the whole system, it was just too much for that power supply. So I ordered another power supply. It was an EVGA 1000 watt, the Supernova G2, and installed it, and it worked great. And the PC was really starting to come together the way I wanted. I rebuilt almost completely with the new power supply. Well, between the new motherboard and the new power supply, I had a lot of cable management to do. I had to just kind of redo the whole thing. and I got red case fans, and it just kind of tied the whole build together how I wanted it to go. So between hours and hours of troubleshooting, disassembling the PC and rebuilding it, but for the motherboard and the power supply and all this different stuff, I didn't get the video footage that I needed to kind of go over that whole process. And it just didn't work out like I had wanted. So I was hoping to be able to pull all the video footage that I had so far together and continue the channel. However, the desktop build kind of fell out of that because well, I was spending so much time troubleshooting and disassembling and reassembling that I didn't actually get the footage. So I got the PC completely done. I had done the cable management, just fully gone all out on it. I really made it mine at this point because it was a full system. I mean, there wasn't a single thing in it any longer that was from the previous build. I replaced the power supply that I used originally, the motherboard. So I figured I'd just move forward, not think about all that, and continue with the setup, and then start again, work from that point on. So I bought a new monitor setup. I was running a dual monitor setup that was like a Vizio 30-inch TV, or it wasn't even 30 inch, I think it was a 27 or something inch TV, and then a knockoff 19-inch flat panel monitor next to it, and that was kind of what I had. But it didn't really flow well with the clean, full system, setup that I was shooting for. So I went and bought new monitors. I got 3 Acer 24-inch monitors. They weren't anything special, just a typical 1080p monitor. But I got 3 matching monitors, got a 3-monitor stand, and I really just started to tie the whole setup together. And along this line, I was still kind of getting footage, but I just hadn't organized myself, so it was still ended up being the same kind of bad quality, bad recorded video footage. And on top of that, just as soon as I had got the system tied together, working, getting all the kinks worked out, really starting to get it done where I was going to be to a point where I was just going to restart and record from that point on with a fresh setup, I moved. And that kind of throws a kink into the whole thing. Not only did I moved back to Utah, my actual home state, and I moved into an unfinished basement that was not a very large space. So I kind of lost the space that I needed to create the channel. I kind of lost the foundation, essentially, because I no longer had the space. I didn't have much of a place to put my computer. I couldn't really record at this point, so I put the channel on a back burner. It was still there, nagging at my thoughts all the time. I knew that I was going to start it up again at some point. I just didn't know where or when, because I didn't know when I was going to be able to get out or finish the space that I was in. So, fast forward a little bit from there to throw another kink in the whole system, I actually ended up getting married. So, and now, my marriage didn't stop anything or complicate anything further because my wife's the same. She's got a lot of the same interests. She loves gaming. She loves all this stuff too. But between the time taken from getting married, living in the unfinished basement, and I had just purchased a car. I'm a hardcore car enthusiast. That's actually my primary passion. I would have to say gaming and technology is kind of a second. But I bought a car, so that was taking up like the majority of my money, and being married, I just couldn't quite spend as much on tech any longer, and I didn't really have the space to put the new stuff, so there was no point, essentially. So after a while, I just bought a laptop. I went from town to town, or state to state for work, brought the wife with me, just kind of left the channel on a back burner, just kind of stopped thinking about it, just went about my daily life. Then I got to a point where I really just kind of wanted to start it back up, so I started working towards that. I got the PC all tied together. It actually evolved a little bit further. I got a new case for it. I traded the case I had to a friend, rebuilt his system inside that case, built my system in the new case, If you go check out the GreyHat Productions Facebook page, you can actually see most of that, because I worked on the Facebook page while I didn't have time or space for the channel itself. So after all of that had gone forward, you know, the car, getting married, I got to a point where I've officially decided to start the channel again. I've moved to Oregon at this point. I don't know how long exactly, but it's going to be fairly long term. And so I got space again. I'm back into the upstairs of a little house that I'm renting instead of a hotel. And I got my PC set up, so that's, I figure, is going to be my best opportunity to start again. And on top of that, with all the new technology that's coming out, with the path that AMD is taking, and I don't know if you've kind of picked this up, but both of my builds have been AMD based. I'm a pretty hardcore AMD enthusiast. I'm going to rebuild my system now that it's quite old and outdated. The FX 8350s, it's still decent, but it's not that great. And then the HD 7950s are just kind of at the end of their lifespan, being a card from 2012. Now, that being said, to kick all this off, we're starting with the wife's build. This is going to be a mini ITX Ryzen 7 1700X system. You can go check the Facebook page out. Once again, it's GreyHat Productions, to kind of see a teaser of what the plans are for that build. We have most of the components at this point. I'm ordering the last few things here pretty soon. There will be videos on unboxings of all that stuff, kind of a reviews, then the system build on that, and then a few things about that system that we're just going to try and push, maybe benchmarking that against my FX 8350, the GreyHat Gaming rig. Trying to see if we can get the memory on that up to the 3200 megahertz, as there's not actually technical support for that yet. So there's a lot of cool things going on with that. And then once her system's done, we're going to start getting parts to build my system. Now, my system, I haven't quite decided for sure what the plan is with it. Tossing around the idea. It's definitely going to be an AMD based system once again, especially with what AMD has been doing so far. So I'm hoping that that'll make some great content to kickstart the channel back up. Sorry that this has been a lengthy video. It's kind of been a story, so I don't know what else to do about it. If you liked it, hit the like button. If you didn't, you know where the dislike button's at. If you're interested to see where we go with the mini ITX build or my build in the future, and lots of other content to come here very soon, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date and see videos as they come out. Feel free to go like the GreyHat Productions page to kind of stay up to date on our social media. We generally publish pictures of stuff before the videos come out, as well as the GreyHat Gaming community on Facebook as well. That is kind of my community that I'm trying to start to bring like-minded people together. Alright, and on that bombshell, it's time to wrap this up. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys made it this far, you guys are the real MVPs, and we'll see you in the next one.